Years ago, I watched my mother lose her job after developing carpal tunnel from years of repetitive data entry work. She had surgery and she was later let go after she returned. And that moment really stayed with me. It opened my eyes to how much pain and inefficiency can come from everyday processes and how much opportunity there is when we can find better ways to solve common business problems. That journey eventually led me to build Connex, a platform designed to automate e-commerce accounting and eliminate the headaches that come from disconnected systems. But solving problems isn't all about the tools. It's about how businesses search for solutions, where they look for answers, and who they trust along the way. That's why I'm excited to welcome today's guest. Aaron Conant is an expert in helping businesses navigate complex operational challenges, finding not just what tools to use, but how to find the right tools in the first place. He spent years in working with e-commerce brands, helping them not just solve problems, but understand how they're seeking solutions, who influences their decisions, and which communities and channels matter most. He's also the founder of BWG Connect, a networking and knowledge sharing group for e-commerce, media, and tech professionals. In today's episode, we're unpacking something every founder and operator faces. How do businesses identify challenges? Where do they look for answers? And what influences their decisions along the way? Aaron, thanks for being here. Let's start with the basics. What challenges do clients most often come to you with? And what patterns do you see across e-commerce businesses?
Yeah. First of all, just thanks so much for having me on today. It's a privilege to be here. More than happy to kind of share the story, but also some of the stories I have from the brands I talk to. I try to connect with up to 1,000 brands a year, and a startup to Fortune 500 and everybody in between. And so when you're talking about what are they coming with right now, I think one of the biggest questions they have right now, which I think is really applicable to what we're going to chat about, is the impact of AI. What do I need to be concerned about? Is this going to take my job? How much do I have to know? They're trying to understand how far are they behind, or are they in front, or is everybody else still in the starting blocks with them? So that's probably one of the biggest things. A lot of it is focused around the digital landscape, e-commerce as a whole, whether that's Shopify or a big commerce site, direct to consumer, or Amazon, or the different marketplaces. So a lot of it is centered around any of that stuff in the digital landscape, from marketing to content creation to pricing and sales and marketing to forecasting. So yeah, super excited to talk about what's ever top of mind for you.
Exactly. And the challenges that many companies face with AI, like you said, many people are afraid of losing their jobs. And I've done other podcast episodes where AI solutions are implemented at companies, but the businesses and not all the employees are on board. Even at my networking event that I held a couple of weeks ago, some of the people on our panel said they implement these AI solutions and it's just hard to get people to adopt. They even have employees that are older looking to retire that they just don't want to learn anything new. So I agree with your solution. When businesses realize they have a problem, whether it's reporting, integration, fulfillment, or something else, where do they often begin to search for a solution? Is it YouTube? Is it tools like ChatGPT or something else?
I think a lot of it is just determined, like you were saying, the demographic, the age demographic as a whole. And, I think it from the standpoint of you get this younger generation. So my oldest is a sophomore in college. For them, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude is starting to become an everyday part of their life. And that's where they're going. As you get older, demographic, it's interesting how it skews. It used to be all YouTube by Google. YouTube is kind of where people would go. It's where I would go in a lot of cases. That gap is right now being filled by TikTok, actually. They're trying to figure out different things if they're trying to problem solve. It's just interesting to see across that landscape where it's going. At the end of the day, I think all of this is migrating closer and closer to a ChatGPT. One of these LLMs that's out there to the point where it's going to be, most of us are going to have a personal digital assistant that we're going to actually have voice conversations with back and forth. Whether or not, to your point, whether or not people are ready for that, older demographic skews no. Right? They want a person to talk to. They want to look at a 35-minute video 3 or 4 times before they go fix the task. And I think what's really interesting is the younger generation is apt to fail a lot more. They're more open to failure, which is interesting. I grew up and we got our first VCR and it was hundreds of dollars and we weren't to touch it because we were going to break it. Or the new Discman, the Walkman with Sony, the first, disc players. And if you hit it the wrong way, it jiggles. You might ruin the laser on it or whatever it is. We're so prone to thinking that we might break it that we're a little bit more apprehensive. The younger group, they don't care. They're going to try it as fast as they can. It's super interesting to watch. So not sure if I totally answered the question there, but I think the places they're going depends on demographics and what they're comfortable with, but also on the mindset that they're
Yeah,
using.
it depends on their age too. People that are a lot younger may be on TikTok. For me, I only TikTok I know is a TikTok of my watch.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm not
Yeah,
really
I
a
never got
TikTok
into
kind of guy.
TikTok. I mean, I just because I know I get sucked into it. You try it one time, and all of a sudden you're like, I wouldn't doom scroll, and then 3 hours have gone by, and you're like, wow, and I was entertained. Like I have to remove it from my phone. Like I just have to get rid of it because I don't let my kids have it on their phones either.
So switching gears, how often do your clients rely on asking their professional or personal networks for solution recommendations? And how do these recommendations pan out?
It's interesting. So the business they built here on BWG Connect, I was on the brand side. I was trying to understand as I was charged with building a direct-to-consumer site, a B2B site, starting an Amazon business, helping with international expansion. We acquired a company in the EU. I realized I needed, after getting burned on a web dev firm and an integrator and an Amazon agency, after seeing that, I needed to talk more to just brands, just people, and not as much relying on a Google search, right? We can get into ChatGPT and the LLM answer engine search and all that later, but relying on that has just gotten burned. And so what I saw was the power of word of mouth, which is kind of like this networking group I have. Is we don't charge brands anything. We do networking events, webinars, or dinners, and we can monetize those at scale. But it's just talking with brands around what are your biggest pain points, and then who, as a collective whole, is helping you solve it. And you can just, over time, you get a short list of the top service providers out there, whether it's an Amazon agency or a TikTok agency, and that's then broken up by size of the company, right? Like the people that Colgate Palmolive need are not the same as, something that even a Shiseido line might need, or you get even smaller, like a Kid Coffee or something like that. But what's important is just connecting with people that have gone through the similar situations that are at brands and trying to pick their brain and saying, hey, who's working and who's not. And so the power of that, I mean, it's 8.5 years now of a business built around it. So it's so important.
I find that in the B2B world, most people ask their network, they ask their shipping solution provider, they ask their 3PL. For example, if your significant other said, go try a restaurant, it's really good, you'll probably go.
Yeah.
Because you trust your significant other. But if you just get a postcard in the mail, you're like, what is this? You're kind of coming in cold. But the referrals are the golden ticket. And that's where you want to be.
Percent. And I think you nailed it. It's just, if you already have somebody you trust that you're interacting with, you're more apt to go ahead and ask them. It's better than, at this point in time, a Google search, right? Or super interesting, what I found is a lot of brands, they're using ChatGPT now instead of doing a Google search to say, hey, I need help with my business, whether it's finances or finding a 3PL or a drop shipping partner or an Amazon agency. They're going to ChatGPT for that, which is, I don't know, it's interesting because that old adage, that we'll do hey, it's on the internet, it must be true, ha ha ha. That same group will go to ChatGPT, which is just a consolidation of the internet right now. And then they'll believe what's in front of them. I think it's kind of comical. But if you can get info from a trusted partner you currently have, or a brand, or whoever that's in a similar situation, that's the best possible thing. Not only that, it cuts out time you spend on the RFP. It's time, effort, money that you get back. It's cool. It's a neat space to live in.
And speaking of this, what role do referrals and word of mouth play in how businesses choose software partners, especially versus search engine or AI tools? I think we touched on it a little bit in the last question.
Yeah, I mean, right now, there's so many tools out there. One of the things with the advent of AI, if you see the, people vibe coding and everything, is it's not hard to create a minimum viable product that you could potentially pitch to a lot of people. But the difference between that, right, and an actual enterprise product that works is trial, error, effort, time, effort, money, all of those things built in, multiple use cases. And so when you have the referral, usually what you've had is you've had somebody that and trust use the product, and then can confirm for you that it works. So it is right now, I think, more important than ever because there's so much new tech and AI tech that's popping up literally on a daily basis now. And as business people, like we're flooded with this stuff all the time. We're constantly pummeled. And it's everything from new advertising tools to help you on LinkedIn or show up on Reddit or show up in the LLMs or the newest paid media tool or account recovery tool or whatever it might be. Like they're just popping up everywhere. It's hard to, to sift through everything to get to something that actually works. So if you've got somebody that can attest to the viability of the product, it's invaluable. That's what it is, invaluable.
And what type of trade groups do your target customers participate in regularly, and how influential are those sources?
Well, that's interesting. Trade groups that are out there. If you can get into the associations like the International Housewares, something that's specific to your group, that's one thing that is fantastic because usually you have a core group of owners and operators who are interested in the same thing. When you get outside of that, you get into like a lot of these trade shows that are out there. I love like the e-commerce trade shows, Shop Talk, Expo West, eTail West. IRCE is interesting out of Chicago, but the issue with a lot of those is they've been acquired. And so if you can find those trade shows that haven't been acquired yet and the founders are still there and it is focused on content and delivering the best quality content as possible, when these big trade shows they get acquired, it turns into a money-making machine. And so all of a sudden, the best talks go to the people on the main stage. Best talks on the main stage are going to those companies that paid the most money. And so it's just a little different. I encourage people to go to them. I love people. I love networking. All the people you can meet there is fantastic. It's just the quality of the content sometimes starts to drop after that. And in all reality, at some point in time, most of those shows that get acquired, the people who acquired them want to retrade them and get a bigger multiple. Trade associations, fantastic. Trade shows, hit and miss, I guess is how I'd put it.
Yeah, trade shows, you need to understand your ICP clearly and make sure your ICP is going to the show. Well, one issue we had in 2024 is we went to trade shows, but they didn't match our ICP, and that's why we didn't get a lot of the results we were hoping. Speaking of options and trade shows, some companies feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of options online. How do you help them filter through noise and focus on tools that truly align with their business needs?
At this point in time, you have to, couple things. In my opinion, you need an R&D budget. So my background, I spent 6 years as a scientist at Pfizer, right? And from that standpoint, like we had an R&D budget and money just gets dumped in there for you to do experiments, like literal experiments. But what's neat about it is that money, the company already knows is gone. And what they're gambling on, and what they trust in their process, I should say, not necessarily gambling, but I guess in a way, they're trusting the process that at some point in time, if they make strategic decisions around what they're doing experiments on, they're going to get something out that then makes, 100-fold their money back. And so a couple of things come with that, time and money. And you need to be able to set aside a research budget, but also research time, because we don't know at this point in time what's going to work. Like I was saying, the tech that comes out is coming out so fast, and in AI and the advancements in this are changing so fast. If you don't have somebody there that's, you can have an agency that's doing it for you. You can have a consultant that's doing it for you. If you don't have somebody else that's doing it for you, you need to have this set aside chunk of time and money to just look at it and then experiment with it. I don't know another way to have it work, or you can't stay on top of it. If you're not trying it, I don't know how you stay on top of it. You have to have that trial and error part of it. So I see a lot of companies doing that. Not as many as should. Like there's probably 10%, but it should be 99% of companies doing it, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need trial and error with different tools, and 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Do you find that different generations or types of founders gravitate towards different search behaviors? For example, older founders leaning on referrals and younger founders leaning on AI or video content?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I find right now that people like comfort, and the older generation, which none of us think we're going to get there, but the older I get, like the more I'm getting there, right? Like I used to love new technology, but now I get a new TV and I just give it to my kids to set up. The older generation, like they just want to get stuff done. So what they've always used is what they always want to use because it gives them results. Where does that come back to bite them? Well, like in e-commerce, a lot of these traditional tools, the analogy I kind of use is like, There's a lot of people out there that would score like a 10%, like founders, leaders at like smaller, companies. They would score a 10 to 20%. Maybe it's at a large Fortune 500 company. They score a 10% on the digital exam. The people they talk to or they see or they're working with right now it would get a 40% on the exam. This gap then, but they look at it and they're like, wow, they're 4 times smarter than us in this area. We should use them and keep using them. But the reality is technology and everything has passed them by. And yeah, they're still 4 times smarter, but you're still getting a 40% on the exam. You're failing, right? You need to be able to take a step back, reevaluate. So it's not that, in that case, I think it's just sticking with the status quo that keeps them behind. This is a huge issue in traditional corporate America right now, is inability to adapt new, I would say, technology, tools, whatever it might be, fast enough. I mean, you think a lot of these companies, it's 6 months to get through external procurement. Well, in 6 months, you can't wait 6 months on a lot of this technology to stay ahead of everything. So you see these smaller brands, which are usually younger, like these new startup brands, new generation, they're trying literally everything and they can just skyrocket to the top. To the point they're trying anything and everything and they're being incredibly scrappy. Now, granted, they don't have as much to lose at the end of the day, right? Because they don't have massive brand equity or anything, but they're more, I don't know, they're more open, again, to just failing and trying as much as possible. So not sure, again, how much I answered the question, but hopefully it's insightful.
Finally, what advice would you give to business owners who are frustrated with the search process and stuck in analysis paralysis? And what should they do to make their search for solutions more effective?
In a lot of cases, the only wrong thing to do is to do nothing. Right? There's one thing to be looking at 5 different options and not be able to choose the right one. And there's the other thing to choose the wrong one and find out it's the wrong one and do that as fast as you can. That old adage, like fail fast, it is legitimate in the digital space and with how fast business is moving today. You have to be able to jump in and just get going. You have to. There's no other option. Like staying where you are is not an option anymore. It's not like a lot of these, you've got 20 or 30 years before something fundamentally changes, whether it's radio or TV or streaming TV. A year from now, we will be in a fundamentally different place. The advancements of AI, how quickly we're going to have digital assistants help us out and take over, how quickly you're going to have AI chief of staffs that are analyzing everything. You have to be able to cycle through these quickly and be willing to fail. That's.
Yeah, I agree. You have to try many things and just kind of see what works. Aaron, I want to thank you so much for joining us and walking us through how businesses search for answers, where they look for solutions, and how their networks, communities, and behaviors shape those decisions. Understanding how companies seek help is just as important as knowing what solutions they find. If you want to learn more about how Aaron helps businesses cut through confusion and find tools that actually move the needle, be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn or BWGConnect.com. And if you're ready to eliminate manual reconciliation and automate your e-commerce accounting, bring up your time to focus on finding the right solutions, visit ConnexEcommerce.com. That's exactly what Connex was built to do. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a business owner who's looking for better ways to find answers in 2026. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, my friend.